The core of this particular piece is Jennifer Lawrence's politics. That's the thing that really matters right here. Right? So she talks in this piece about Roe versus Wade. Quote, in late June, I drove to Lawrence's house in Beverly Hills. She greeted me at the door in a knee-length gray robe and fluffy white slippers. She had just finished a fitting for this photo shoot. And given the dress code of our first meeting, saw no need to put on more clothes. I was like, she's already seen me naked, so who cares? Lawrence led me through a sunken den to a large outdoor dining area that was screened in Southern style. As she uncorked a bottle of white wine, she warned me she was in a mood. So she's a wine mom. Let's take our political cues from her. Not a bad mood exactly, but a consistently emotional one brought on by the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe versus Wade a few days earlier. Much of her disappointment was directed at certain relatives back in Louisville, Kentucky, where she'd grown up, including her father. So she doesn't like her family anymore because they're pro-life. That's the takeaway. She's the good one, by the way. She's the nice person. She's the new agey wine mom who likes to go to Tikkun Spa, who has the aura of new motherhood about her, but definitely understands the importance of killing babies in the womb. The 2016 election had torn open a rift in her family. Repairing it was an ongoing process. Particularly since having a baby she'd been trying to heal. Yeah, there's nothing like having a baby that says more about abortion than. She even discussed with her therapist the recurring nightmares she had about Tucker Carlson. Okay, so first of all, I'm sure Tucker is just like, I'm a little jealous, I'll be honest with you. When Jennifer Lawrence is having nightmares about you, that's kind of amazing. Like, good for Tucker. Seriously, literally living rent-free in Jennifer Lawrence's head. That's amazing stuff. She's like, quote, I just worked so hard in the last 5 years to forgive my dad and my family and try to understand. It's different. The information they're getting is different. Their life is different. Lawrence had a haunted look in her eyes. She would stop at times to apologize or make a self-deprecating joke and get visibly overtaken by emotion again. I felt like I was watching a real-life version of whatever it is that happens when she acts. I tried to get over it, and I really can't. I can't. I'm sorry I'm just unleashing, but I can't F with people who aren't political anymore. You live in the United States. You have to be political. It's too dire. Politics are killing people. Okay, so I'd like everybody to remember this next time Jennifer Lawrence asks you to go to one of her movies. She hates your guts. Okay, if you are on the other side of the political aisle, everything is political. Every single thing. You can't go to a movie and just enjoy a movie. It's too dire, guys. You are too dire. You are a threat to her. You are a threat to democracy. Sure, you're paying her salary and paying for her massively expensive mansion in Southern California and paying for that trip, I assume, to Tikkun Spa. But you are the bad person. Because even if you're apolitical, that's not enough. It's like Ibn X. Kendi, who says that if you're not anti-racist, you're actively racist. For Jennifer Lawrence, if you're apolitical, this means you are actively a right-wing lunatic who opposes everything good and decent about this country. You can't. Politics are killing people, she said while drinking her white wine in Santa Monica. Honestly, the gap between the lives these people live and the actual "they're killing us" rhetoric is so astonishingly large. I remember one time I went to, I'm going to name drop right now. I went to lunch with David Mamet. Oh, sorry, I dropped something. It was a name. Sorry. So I went to lunch with David Mamet, and we were in Santa Monica at one of these places. And we were surrounded by a bunch of people, like the richest people in America, all sitting there in the middle of the day. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning. People were drinking wine, having steak. And I wasn't eating anything, of course, because it wasn't a kosher restaurant. I was just having like a Coke. And I remember looking at David, and we were talking about Trump. And he was saying, look around here. All these people believe that they're at existential risk of Donald Trump, that he's going to like burst through that door like a big giant orange, just murder them with an axe or something. And I was like, well, if they really believe that, would they be sitting here at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning sipping white wine? But that's Jennifer Lawrence, right? She's so threatened that she's sitting there with a reporter from Vogue in a sunlit gazebo talking about how difficult her life is. It's so politics are killing people. We'll get to more of this extraordinary interview with Jennifer Lawrence in just 1 second. First, let me ask you something. What if there was someone out there who kept a log of every single thing you did every minute of the day? I'm not talking about Santa Claus. I'm talking about your internet service provider, because that is actually happening. Your internet provider like AT&T or Comcast, they're allowed to store logs of every website you've ever visited. They can legally sell that data to anyone, which is why I use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers, so your internet provider can't see or log what you do online. It's super easy to use. See, I first opened my ExpressVPN app, and it says it is not connected. But behold, it is now connected, which means all my internet activity is now protected. Now, I know what you're wondering. Well, if I'm routing all my data through a VPN, doesn't that mean the VPN can see what I'm doing and log my data instead? Well, you're right to think that. Many VPNs claim to have a no logs policy, but they have been caught logging customer activity. Not so at ExpressVPN. They use trusted server technology. They were the first major VPN provider to engineer all of their VPN servers to run in RAM, which makes it impossible for their VPN servers to store any data, including logs of any ExpressVPN customer. You don't have to take my or ExpressVPN's word for it. ExpressVPN is so confident in their no logs claim, they even had one of the biggest assurance firms, PwC, audit their technology. Stop letting people keep logs of what you do online. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro show right now. Find out how you can get 3 months for free. The reversal of Roe was reigniting it all, says Vogue. She had not been entirely in Hillary Clinton's corner, but still found it incredibly upsetting the country elected Donald Trump. It breaks my heart because America had a choice between a woman and a dangerous, dangerous jar of mayonnaise. And they were like, well, we can't have a woman. Let's go with the jar of mayonnaise. Yeah, that's what. Nailed it, Jennifer. Nailed it. You too have experienced such rampant sexism that you are extraordinarily wealthy for pretending to be other people on a movie screen. Rampant sexism. Brutal, vicious. And that's what it was about Hillary. It's that she was a woman. It wasn't that she's a horrible politician. Like really crap at this. It's that she was a woman. And now, thanks to Supreme Court justices appointed by that dangerous jar of mayonnaise, the unthinkable had happened. I don't want to disparage my family, says Jennifer Lawrence, but I know that a lot of people are in a similar situation with their families. How could you raise a daughter from birth and believe she doesn't deserve equality? How? Well, maybe they believe that you deserve equality, but also they're glad you were born. I love when people talk about their parents this way. You understand? I mean, this brings to mind the old Ronald Reagan line. Everybody who's pro-abortion has already been born. She's like, well, why do my parents oppose abortion? You're here, aren't you? Growing up in a conservative home, Lawrence had thought of herself as a Republican, but it was almost a cultural thing, like sports or something. She had the notion there were two teams, and the Republicans were her team. Then one night when she was 16, she was watching 30 Rock, and Liz Lemon said something along the lines of, I'm not a crazy liberal. I just think people should drive hybrid cars. It made sense. It seemed rational. That, by the way, that is the way that I decide my politics. I watch written characters by Tina Fey on a sitcom. These are deep thoughts here from Jennifer Lawrence, who has nightmares about Tucker Carlson. She literally says that Liz Lemon on 30 Rock defined her politics. It wasn't like she was sitting around reading Barbara Ehrenreich or something. She was like, Liz Lemon said something about hybrids. Later, when she made movies in other countries, she saw how money always tended to concentrate at the top, not just in the United States, how it rarely trickled down to working people. Well, wait, hold up. She made movies wait, you mean when you go to like third world countries to make movies, wealth doesn't work very well? Why, shocking. What makes America different? Mysteries. Mysteries. She goes to countries that are utterly dissimilar from the United States. She's like, hey, trickle-down economics doesn't work here. Yeah, because they're not trying it. I love this. Jennifer Lawrence didn't grow up like uber wealthy, as far as I'm aware. And here she is, uber wealthy. So it seems like the wealth worked for her, didn't it? She gathered more perspective. The more money she made, to her, Republican had always meant, why should my taxes pay for your haughty lifestyle? Now she saw holes in that logic. Nobody likes to see half their paycheck go away, but it made sense to me. Yeah, for the greater good, I guess it makes sense. Wow, noblesse oblige. She's our new nobility, and she's not giving charity. You understand? I assume, but she's doing it through taxes. And everybody has to pay the taxes that pay for garbage government programs that are utterly inefficient. Just as the professional inevitably mixed with the personal inevitably mixed with the political. The persistent pay gap between her and her male co-stars, for example. The hacking of Sony Pictures computers in 2014 revealed Lawrence's compensation for American Hustle had been considerably less than that of her male co-stars. Oh, you mean like Christian Bale? The biggest star in Hollywood? No. You shock me, madam. More recently, Vanity Fair reported she earned $5 million less than Leonardo DiCaprio for Don't Look Up. Wow. You mean then Leonardo DiCaprio, the biggest star of the last 30 years in Hollywood? You earned less than he did? Pay gap. Clear. She's suffering, guys. Down at that Tikkun spa, being slapped with leaves or some such. True suffering in America. She knows all actors at her level are overpaid, but the discrepancy is still bothersome. It reflects the pay gap between men and women writ large, and it delivers the same insult. Quote, it doesn't matter how much I do. I'm still not going to get paid as much as that guy because of my vagina? No, I'm pretty sure that you being female is the reason you got the parts that you got. If I had to be specific about it, I'd think that probably your body parts have something to do with, like, I noticed that you're not a fat, obese, hairy man getting these parts. Just a few things I noticed. The hacking and leaking of her nude photos felt punitive, as though it was because she was one of the highest paid actresses in the world that someone thought, strip her clothes off. Yeah, it's because you're rich, not because you're a hot woman. Because that's what men want. You know, when it comes to pornography, men are like, I will only look at this woman if she is rich. And men have never looked at a poor naked woman, ever. People leaked her photos because she's rich, not because she's a hot naked woman who's very, very famous. Roe was hitting especially hard. Lawrence herself got pregnant in her early 20s. She 100% intended to get an abortion. But before she could, I had a miscarriage alone in Montreal. Okay, well, the miscarriage wasn't an abortion. She got pregnant again a couple of years ago while shooting Don't Look Up. By then, she was married and very much wanted to have a baby. She had another miscarriage. The second time, she had to get a D&C, the surgical procedure by which tissue is removed from the uterus. To imagine children and 18-year-olds in any sort of situation with limited options was simply too much to bear. Even more so now that she does have a baby. I remember a million times thinking about it while I was pregnant, thinking about the things happening to my body. And I had a great pregnancy. I had a very fortunate pregnancy, but every single second of my life was different. And it would occur to me sometimes, what if I was forced to do this? You know, what's a thing that doesn't appear in that entire line of thinking? The baby that she has that apparently enriches her life. It's all about the changes to her body. By the way, a D&C after having a miscarriage is not an abortion by any standard of law or morality. And the fact that you intended to have an abortion and you had a miscarriage, like, I don't even know why that's an example of a thing that Roe covers. How on earth could anyone have children and not want to restrict access to guns, she wants to know. Oh my God, I'm raising a little boy who's going to go to school one day. Guns are the #1 cause of death for children in the United States, and people are still voting for politicians who receive money from the NRA. It blows my mind. At one point, I asked Lawrence if there was still open communication about politics with her family, if she still broached the subject with her relatives in Kentucky. I broached the subject in the sense that I unleash text messages. Just boom, 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 boom. They don't respond. And then I'll feel bad and send a picture of the baby. Yeah, maybe they decided to ignore you because you're obnoxious. And they'd rather talk to you about your baby who's not obnoxious. Just solid stuff here from our celebrity class. These are the people we should listen to about morality, about politics. Yeah. Our elites. They are just the best. They are just the best. We're in a battle for the culture and for our values. Like and subscribe to help keep our videos on the front line of the fight and top of your feed.